We're now less than 3 weeks away from the launch of The War Within, which means things are starting to get finalized, and we have a lot more clear information now about the renowned factions and how their reputation's going to work. So in this video, I wanted to give a quick run through of the renowned factions, kind of some info around how that's going to work, and also how long it's going to take to hit max renown with those factions. So the expansion will launch with 4 renowned factions, very similar to Dragonflight, and they'll have 25 renowned tracks each. So there's not going to be one with a little bit more, one with a little bit less. They're all going to have 25. And if you're doing everything you can be doing, these will all roughly kind of progress at the same speed as well. And for the most part, these renowned factions are going to work pretty much how they did in Dragonflight. There is going to be one that is a little bit more unique, and that is the Severed Threads. And this is going to be unique because it has 3 sub-factions underneath the main kind of renowned faction. And any progression you make towards one of these sub-factions will kind of add the reputation to the main renowned track as well. So say for example, you gain 1,000 rep with one of the sub-factions, this will also add 1,000 rep to the Severed Threads too. And then you can kind of pick which one you want to champion and which one you want to work towards first. But very similar to the Sibelian and Rathian stuff, you're going to be able to get them all up anyway. It's not like a pick and choose and then you're doomed. It's just a pick one that you want to do now, and you'll eventually get them all done anyway. There's not going to be any Alcheese this time around either. If some of you are familiar with the Alcheese, you'd kind of do the renowns on your alts first to get the kind of reputation buff, and then you'd come back to your main, and your main would have a ton more reputation gain, and it would kind of catapult to the higher renowns. You're not going to be able to do that anymore though because of the warbound stuff. So basically every single bit of reputation you get is going to be warbound. Whether you do the one-time stuff, which is like the main quests, the side quests, once one character does that, your alts will no longer get the rep. And then the weekly stuff as well, once one character does it, your alts will no longer get the rep either. So there's going to be kind of no Alcheese, there's going to be no worries about having like a ton of characters to get the renown done faster. Everyone, as long as they're doing everything possible, will progress at the same speed. This does come with a bit of a downside though, because it's all combined into kind of one account. It does mean most of the main rewards, for example, the heroic crest item that you can use for crafting gear, you're only going to be able to get this on one character. So you will have to kind of pick and choose which characters will get the various different rewards. Otherwise, you're just going to miss out or put it on the wrong character, and you're not going to be able to get that on your alts. Although this isn't a major concern because a lot of the rewards are very minor anyway, it might set your characters back a little bit, a week or two, but it's not going to be a major like, oh no, this character's now bricked because I picked the item up on a wrong character, so don't worry too much. So next up, let's talk about how reputation will be gained. First of all, there's going to be a ton of one-time sources of reputation that you can be doing early on in the expansion. There'll be the main campaign that you'll have in each of the zones. You'll have a ton of side quests to do that will give reputation. There's going to be one-time treasures that you can pick up. And there's going to be these lore items as well, which are like magnifying glasses on the map. You'll click it and it'll give you a little bit of information about like the zone or the race or an event that happened, and you'll get some rep from that too. Once you've got all your one-time sources, it doesn't matter if your alt comes and does them as well, they will no longer get reputation, so your whole account will only have a chance to get rep once from these sources. Once you do all of this, you'll end up in around kind of 7 to 8 renown, so we'll round it up and say 8 renown, which means we now need 17 more renown to get to 25. From here, it's pretty much only going to be weekly activities that you'll continue to gain reputation from. So unlike the start of Dragonflight, there's not going to be little sources of rep that you can work towards over and over again if you want to. There's not going to be any of that. Instead, you're going to have weekly opportunities, you'll get it done, and then that'll be it. You'll kind of be capped out for the week on reputation. One of those sources is going to be a weekly activity. So each of the zones will have their own kind of weekly activity for you to do. The first zone will be like a theater event, which will be similar to like the cooking pot event. We'll just be running around, clicking things, killing things for like 10 minutes. The next zone has currently 2 different things that give reputation, and this gives you way more than 1,000 rep. It's closer to like 2.5k rep. I assume that's still them tweaking things though, because one of them is the Awakening Machine, which week in and week out has gone through major changes, and now it kind of feels like they've decided it's just going to be a very small, easy to do event. And if you complete that full event, it'll give you just over 1,000 reputation. They also have an additional weekly quest that you can do, which will give 1,000 reputation too. So I assume they're either going to pull down the reputation on those 2 things, or the weekly quest will be removed, but we'll see. But I'd imagine it'll end up being about 1,000 rep once per week from that zone too. The third zone will be just kind of a hub. So you'll have one main objective to do. Once that's done, there'll be little kind of side quests for you to do, and all of this will give reputation as well. And then the final zone will be the one with the 3 sub-factions. So you'll pick a faction to champion for the week. You'll go do like world quests or special objectives tied to that faction, and you'll gain a chunk of reputation for that faction specifically, which will then add into the overall Severed Threads rep too. On top of that, there's going to be a weekly quest you can pick up, and this will be to do a specific dungeon on normal, heroic, mythic, and you can currently do this with followers as well. So if you want to get it done nice and easy, you can just group up with followers, get that done. And this will give you 1.5k rep with one faction of your choice. So if you kind of want to speed run a particular faction, then this is going to be how you'll do this. This will be your main way of getting one faction ahead of the rest. There's also going to be weekly rares. Each zone will have about 10 rares that you can kill for 250 reputation each. This was daily at one point, but this has been changed to be weekly. So you're going to go around, you'll kill the rares each week. And then there's going to be the weekly or bi-weekly world quests popping up. So you'll have like 3 or 4 world quests to do initially in each zone. And then halfway into the week, you'll get another chunk of world quests to do. And there will also be 2 special assignments up per week. And these are going to be like a locked world quest on the map. And to unlock that, you have to do 3 world quests within the zone. The special assignment will unlock, which is kind of like a harder world quest, normally with elite mobs. You'll get that done and you'll get a chunk of 200 rep for doing that as well. And the world quests are given what we expect in Dragonflight, like 50 rep, with some of them giving bonus if it's kind of the unique reward for the world quest. Once again, this is all warbound, so if you do the world quest on your ults, they're not going to get reputation, even if it is a reward for doing the world quest. There is also a contract, and initially the contract was going to be very big. It was going to give over 100 reputation per world quest you did, but in the most recent build, this has been hard nerfed back down to what it is in every other expansion. It gives 5, 10, 15, depending on the rank of the contract you're using. So this is going to give you small amounts of reputation. It's not going to be that big. If you really want to min-max, you want to be picking up a contract. I think it unlocks at Renown 5 with the factions. So we're going to have access to the contracts very quickly anyway, so you might as well throw one on. And once again, these are warbound. Once you put one on your account, that will now be the kind of faction you're working towards for your entire account. And if you do a world quest on one character, you log on to another, you will not get the contract reputation boost on that ult. So there's no way of cheesing stuff in the expansion so far. So with all that in mind, how long will it take to get these factions to max renown? Well, we're looking at around kind of 3 months. One faction, if you kind of keep chucking the 1.5k reputation at it from the weekly quest, you'll get that done in about 10 weeks. But every other faction is going to take closer to 3 months. And then obviously once you've finished one faction, you can now start throwing that 1.5k at another faction, which will speed it up a little. But that's still going to take you a good couple of weeks to kind of see the impact of that happening. So it's going to take quite a while. There's going to be no way of speeding this up currently. You're just going to have to do the weekly content week in and week out for about 3 months to get all of this stuff done. Now there will be the weekly world quest event that will pop up at some point, which will give you a renown to a faction of your choice. So that will speed up things a little bit. So keep an eye out on that. But in general, this is going to be quite a long reputation grind with no way of making it faster. And some people will really like this change, that they don't feel like they're forced to kind of grind mobs or grind dirt piles for hours and hours on end. And some people like that kind of thing to do in the beginning, where they just get to sweat out and play for 16 hours a day and just really, really grind the game. So there's going to be some people that don't like this change, where it's just weekly content only, and there's no way of being a sweaty, WoW player, basically. But either way, that is how the factions are going to work. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And look out for more full guides on this stuff coming soon in the future as well, along with a ton of other The War Within guides and content as well on the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.